Welcome back. Tonight I want to take a look at Adrian Tchaikovsky's Shards of Earth. So this is book one in his trilogy, The Final Architecture. So what I would like to do is provide a bit of a plot overview, talk to what I like and what I didn't like, make some recommendations, and we'll rate this book. So Earth has been destroyed. These moon-sized aliens referred to as the architects have basically destroyed the planet Earth. But humanity lives on in all these settlement planets as refugees throughout the galaxy. And what we find is that this war is not over with Earth being destroyed. And these aliens in the architects seem to be oblivious to life. But they do only seem to target inhabited planets. And it doesn't really matter if it's humans or aliens. As long as it's inhabited, it seems to be a fair target. And these architects are restructuring the planets molecularly, rearranging all their molecules and atoms into these, what appears to be these works of art. So humanity's on the run, and they're constantly getting targeted, and all these colony worlds are afraid as well. So they've come up with this secret weapon in these type of humans called intermediaries. And these intermediaries are a bit of a mutation, natural mutation, but they've sort of got some special qualities, and humans being in desperate need of something to stop this war with these architects have started experimenting on these humans, and these humans are able to travel through this unspace in Adrian's world, so they can sort of navigate through this unspace sort of weird space anomaly that allows them to travel faster than light. That's one of their special abilities, but they can also get the attention of these architects, and that's why they've been sort of experimented on, and there's this program to build all these intermediaries. And we have an intermediary in this guy called Idris Telemere, and Idris has managed to make contact with one of these alien architects, and it's sort of almost like these architects are completely oblivious to humanity or intelligent life. They sort of just sort of go on their way, restructuring all these planets, completely annihilating life on those planets in the process, and it seems to be unaware. But Idris makes contact with one of these aliens enough to get their attention and get the acknowledgement that, hey, there's someone here. And the alien sort of acknowledges it and walks away. There's a second sort of meeting with these architects, and because the war sort of continues, and Idris helps actually kill one of these architects off. And it appears that we are saved and the world is over, and these architects have gone on their merry way, and Earth is gone, but humanity is at peace again, free to live their life on these colony planets. So decades post that event, we find that Idris is a navigator, a pilot, on one of these merchant ships throughout the galaxy. And it's sort of made up of this motley crew of humans, aliens, and I'll talk to some of the crews when I talk to my likes and dislikes, but with some alien crews. And there's also a woman there who's sort of these engineered, vat-processed humans, and they're all females, almost like an Amazon warrior type person. They're a race of women who have been genetically modified, created in vats that help. I did to sort of help humanity. And one of the people on that ship in Solace was also in the first incident with Idris, so they sort of know her, and she's gone to the ship to sort of talk Idris in join the Parthenon, who she's a member of, because they're in dire need of these special navigators, these intermediaries. So this motley crew has been engaged and hired to find what they believe might be the remains of this spaceship called Omus, by this alien alien entity called the Hegemony. And they're very, very alien type of aliens. They're referred to as a clam-like creature. Very interesting, actually. I'll leave you to read the book, but I thought the Hegemony was rather interesting. But when it comes to humanity, the Hegemony have got this sort of hold on humanity and other intelligent races throughout the galaxy, because what we find in the book is that the Hegemony, there are certain type of artifacts that for some reason architects will not target a world if these special artifacts are on these planets. And the hegemony have been the only race that have been able to successfully move these artifacts between worlds, and for those special relics not to be destroyed in the process. That allows these worlds to be sort of safe from these architects. So they've pretty much created a recruitment process where they want to get all these worlds into the hegemony, and they're sort of headed in human worlds by a sort of puppet sort of priesthood that sort of plays as intermediary. So they've been hired by this one guy to go out and try to find this spaceship, and that's where the mystery really begins, because there's a whole lot of questions as to have the architects arrived. If they have arrived, what are our chances of fighting them off again, and what do we need to do to overcome this threat from a galactic wide point of view. So I thought it was a very, very interesting novel, Shards of Earth. It was very refreshing, to be honest. It's been several years since I've read what I felt was a nice, pretty good modern space opera. So maybe a good tangent into talking to what I liked in the book. I really found Adrian's writing in this particular novel to be very economic. I thought the plot moved around really nicely. I thought it had a good pace and a good tempo. I found myself engaged throughout the whole plot. It's a pretty big book, it's 500 odd pages, but I still read it within a week. And I haven't been on holiday, so it's just been one of those books that has seen me have some pretty late nights, because I've been really engaged, and I sort of, that mystery around the architects and what they were, and are they back, and will they be back, and what do they want, I thought was really appealing for me. So I really did enjoy the plot and that economic writing. One thing I would say for the economic writing of this novel, there's quite a few battle scenes, but I don't know, sometimes when I read these big space operas, I just get tired of the battle scenes. I think sometimes I can linger on for too long, and I get bored halfway through, and I find myself just skimming through the battle scenes just to get the plot progression. But that was definitely not the case with Shards of Earth. There's quite a few battles in this novel, but I just found them, and that's what I mean by that economic writing. I just felt he said what needed to be said and not much more. To the point that, sometimes when you read a big novel like this, I find myself, like I've mentioned in the past on this channel, I tend to read just before I go to bed. And I know when I've had enough, when I start to sort of gloss over and, I'm reading, but I realize I'm not really reading. And I can do that for a couple of paragraphs, and I don't really lose anything of the plot. But with the economic writing that Adrian puts here, I don't think you can afford to do that, because it moves along. And sometimes he drops some pretty significant bombshells without any warning or warm-up, and you can actually miss those pretty pivotal points in the book if you're not sort of focused. And I don't say you have to be paying complete attention to every single word, but you definitely can't be reading it when you fall asleep, because things will happen. You think, hang on, did that just really happen? And you read back and think, oh yeah, geez, that wasn't expecting that moved pretty quickly. So that's what I mean by economic writing, and I think Adrian is a master when it comes to this novel. So I really did enjoy the plot, like I mentioned. I thought the plot moved along quite well. And there was no real low spots in the book for me. I just thought it had a really nice pacing. So I would have to say that was one of the things I really enjoyed in this novel. It's just the good, steady pacing throughout. Now, the aliens I really enjoyed as well. Some of the aliens were very alien. As you could argue that even though there were a lot of different alien beings, and they were very different and very alien in their way, they were also very alien in a very single-faceted point of view. I wouldn't say that's a negative. It happens a lot in science fiction. It seems to be that aliens of a specific breed always act the same way. And there's like no two aliens of the same species seem to have different personalities. It's just a criticism I find in many books where, you have alien races which are very alien, but all the individuals in those alien species all seem to be of the same cut. It happens a lot. It's not a criticism, just an observation. So when it comes to the things I didn't like, I would have to say it's the characters in the novel itself. And it's not that I didn't enjoy the characters. I thought the characters were just fun. I really enjoyed each and every one of the characters. I thought they all brought an interesting piece to the plot, to the narrative of the story. I enjoyed their interactions. I thought they were pretty, I wouldn't say deep and sophisticated individuals, but there was enough dialogue and enough interaction between those characters to make it enjoyable for me. But they're very much tropes of science fiction, right? And to give you an example of what I mean by that, you know, the Vulcan god, this ship that this crew was on, you know, you had the woman who was disfigured, and you know, she had missing limbs and stuff. So she had this exterior scorpion exoskeleton and she was a tough chick, you know, that you see in these movies, science fiction movies and the likes, in TV series. So she was that typical, you know, tough and rough, but deep inside she was scarred and wounded and had some real pain she had to deal with, and she hid that with this huge scorpion bottle and real badass, right? Then you had Idris, who was the reluctant hero with this potential to save the galaxy, who wasn't quite ready. He wanted to just run away from it all and live his, you know, insignificant life in peace in some remote planet somewhere, or just doing his job between the stars. You had this pantheon vat-bred creature who was very sort of, you know, moralistic and perfect soldier. So like, they had all these tropes. Is it a bad thing? Well, no. That's why I guess tropes are used, because they are enjoyable for the most part. But just as a minor criticisms, I just thought the characters in the novel didn't necessarily bring something new to the genre of, you know, space opera here, but nor should a book always have to do that, right? So look, it's a minor criticism. Yeah, just the characters I think were very much cliche, typically of what you find in books like this. I could almost imagine them on screen, right? And it's one of those B-grade movies you've seen multiple times. But having said that, this is definitely not a B-grade book. So when it comes to recommendations and my rating of this book. So recommendations. Look, I found Shards of Earth to be a very good modern space opera. So if you like the likes of Alistair Reynolds or Peter F. Hamilton, James Corey, Neil Asher, Arkady Martin, then I don't think you're going to be disappointed in Adrian Tchaikovsky's Shards of Earth. I think it's right in that league, and I got glimpses of all those authors as I was reading through this book. 500-page read, but I found the plot to move pretty quickly and very efficiently, and I really enjoyed reading the novel. So I'm glad I picked this one up from my local library. Maybe I'm hoping it'll encourage you to do the same. Don't neglect your local libraries. So yeah, I would rate this one a good solid 4 out of 5, and I'll definitely be reading the sequels. Hey, I've been Peter. This has been the Sci-Fi Shed, and I'll see you next time in the shed.